This is the voice of freedom. We are not one voice. We are many. We are your voice. But we can only be effective if you use your voice. Your voice. This is the voice of freedom. We will not hide from the truth. We will ask the hard questions until we are sure we have the truth. Welcome to the voice of freedom, where your voice will never be silenced.
Hopefully that fixes the sound issue. Let me see. Okay, has that fixed the sound problem? Hello. No, not looking like that's fixed it yet either. Give me another go. Oh, it has? Now it's working. Beautiful. All right, let's start again. Hello, nice to see you all. How bloody wonderful. So you would have missed that bit at the start where I said new laptop, don't know what the hell's going on. Had a bit of a catastrophe in the drive back from Sydney. Should start there. Thank you so much for the people who came to see us in Sydney and in Singleton too, for that matter. But we left Sydney last Thursday with full intention of just driving maybe to Newcastle and staying the night. But daughter and I pressed on regardless, and we actually drove all night, shared the drive and did it safely, and wound up back in Queensland at like 7 o'clock in the morning, which worked out really well. For us, gave us a day extra back in Queensland where we basically slept and did the washing. And then I've come to the beautiful Sunshine Coast. Unfortunately, in the trip here, I managed to trash my laptop screen. Put it in a bag with something that was too big and too heavy. Something else got put on it. It's managed to push through from behind and smash the screen from the inside out, which is really pleasurable. But anyway, discovered that yesterday. Hence, there was a few problems getting a show together for last night. That's why there won't be, there isn't a Magna Carta 1215 show up yet, but there will be. I'm catching up with Fitz later today. So my apologies for that. If you're a 1215er and you're wondering where the show is from last night. What else has gone on? The Cossack gave me a call. I got a call from him a couple of days ago. It was not a long call. He was glad to be out, I think, and thanked me for everything that I did. Clearly, no, I won't say that. That's being a bit petty. But it was interesting to see his speech. I'll just say that was very interesting to watch his speech on Saturday, the big march that he turned up at. I think it was Mac's March. Just interesting in and of itself, I thought. What are the chances of me coming to Bega on the way through? Very good, I would suggest. If you want to set up a place where I can come to Bega, I would love to come to Bega. There's a lot of talk about places in New South Wales to come, and the South Coast is one of those. Bega has expressed interest. You're not the first person, but I think you might just be the second. There has also been some interest around Nowra. There has been some interest in Gippsland, and obviously going to Victoria. That's not a bad way to go. Bathurst is another one. Now, I don't know if the folks are watching this, but I was in contact with some people in Bathurst who said, can you come and do a show in Bathurst around Bathurst? I'd love to come to Bathurst and do a show around Bathurst. Accommodation could be the problem. I might have to ring my old mate Gary, see whether or not I can sleep in the caravan in his backyard. We'll see what happens. But a show around Bathurst. I would love to do a show around Bathurst weekend in Bathurst, but we'll see what happens. And yes, I'll put Bega on the list. All we have to do to coordinate this list is get a list of towns and cities, if you like, that I can turn into a run and drive from one to the other and knock them all over, if you like, that way. Would love to try and be able to do that. So if you've got a town in mind that you'd like me to come to, send it through. Carl@vofhq.com. This laptop isn't receiving those emails yet. Everything's all a bit new on this laptop. For some reason, the screen that I'm using here, I can't even see the main screen you're looking at the moment. All I can see are these tiny, tiny little things. Got something to do with screen resolution. I don't know. I'll have to figure it out a bit later on. What else was I going to talk about? Well, Wednesday night, as I was getting on to, I'm not sure if we had this while the microphone was on or off. Wednesday night, I've got another live event happening, this time on the Sunshine Coast. It's happening at the Waterfront Hotel in Diddillaba. It's free, of course, to come. No problems whatsoever getting in the door. We would like you, if you are going to come and share a meal with us beforehand. Those that do come in and have a meal beforehand will be given seating preference. It's only a smallish room. I think there's 150 seats in it. And I think 115 of them are already sold or booked out. Sorry, not sold, because we're not selling them. They're freebies, but love to see you there. If you want to come, I would advise you book and come in for a meal beforehand. They're doing meals, I think, from 5 o'clock. So you've got no problems getting that through. We'll open the doors about 7. The show will start at 7:30. And who was going to be on the show? Well, the Aussie Cossack said he might come on and have a bit of a chat, which will be interesting. I will also be talking predominantly for most of the show with a gentleman that we're all very, very keen on getting the lowdown from. And if you have any interest in the trust that we've been talking about with Darren Bergworth and Victoria, if you have any interest in the community council and helping form a community council, then we will have all the information on that for you on Wednesday night in the live as well. And I would counsel you, if you are thinking about this People's Trust idea and you would like to be part of it, then there isn't too much required. We need an administrator, we need a treasurer, and from there a constitution and a few other bits and pieces. I will have the framework on Wednesday so that we can set all this up, and through the Voice of Freedom we're very happy to help in every state and territory that wants to do this. If you live there, we will help you. You need 3 things. You need that administrator, you need the treasurer, and you need someone to litigate for you. And we have the litigator for all states. He's volunteered himself in all cases, and he's the bloke who's backing all this. We're going to talk to him on Wednesday night. So if you can't be at the Waterfront Tavern, or the Waterfront Hotel rather, in Diddillaba on Wednesday night, then make sure you tuned in from 7:30, because we are going to tell you all about the People's Trust and how to get it set up. I can tell you right now that it's operating in Victoria, South Australia and the ACT. They are the only places that it's operating on. There is talk, and some people have apparently been talking a little bit about getting it sorted in New South Wales. We will be there to help do that. I have people that we can volunteer, if you like, to come into that, and also in Queensland. So you need administrator, treasurer in each state and territory. So we're looking for somebody in the Northern Territory, Western Australia, Queensland, New South Wales, and did I say Tassie? Tassie. So that's what's required. And somebody who'll step up and be the administrator, somebody who'll step up and be the treasurer, because it's extremely important that you are very good with numbers if you're going to be the treasurer, and extremely important that you're very good with administration if you're going to be the administrator, because you are going to get a lot of work. Okay, there will be lots to take note of. The administration side of things, that'll be dealing with all the incoming mail and whatever else has to be sent out. The treasurer, well, the treasurer is going to need to record every cent that comes in, and should it go out, if somebody can prove that they are the correct and rightful recipient, they have the jurisdiction to accept that fine, or to set that fine and accept those monies, then they'll get paid out. But the treasurer must have very, very, very good accounting skills. Doesn't matter what state you're in, your treasurer must have very high-end accounting skills, because nothing can be left to doubt with this at all in a trust. So that's the key behind it. We will talk more about it all on Wednesday night with the guy who set it all up in Victoria. It is going to be absolutely huge. I'm looking forward to that. Now, speaking of trust, I want to talk about trust too. Trust today is something I think a lot of us are lacking. There are many types of trust, I guess. There's, an employer who trusts his employee with the business keys and the keys to the safe, maybe. There are those people that we trust looking after our children when when we go out for the night and we just need a babysitter, or when we send them off to daycare, off to schools. We trust teachers to teach our kids not just the ABCs and the 1, 2, 3s. We trust our teachers to try and instill in our kids and help grow in our kids a sense of community, a sense of social order, a sense of social well-being, how to be a contributor, a worthwhile contributor to community. Pardon me. That's not just something we want the teachers to teach. We have to teach that to our kids as well, but the teachers spend an inordinate amount of time with our kids. In some cases, a lot more than we do. And I think in a lot of cases, we've trusted the teachers to teach what we were taught, and they're teaching nothing like what we were taught. So trust with teachers is something I think is being fairly well eroded at the moment too. We trust others to behave sensibly when they're driving on the road. Okay, we don't believe that's always going to be the case, and we usually stand ready to take action if some idiot on the road is doing something stupid. But we trust, by and large, people will be sensible when they get behind, a 3.5 ton, 4.5 ton, 20 ton, 100-ton vehicle and are taking it on the road. We trust the police will find the criminals. We trust that they will take them to a court and deal with them justly. We trust that, the judges in those courts will take on the evidence and, based on the evidence, make just decisions. But what happens when part of the community loses trust and they start talking, they start asking about things that concern them? Well, I can tell you what happens when that sort of trust is broken. The people who are talking about those sorts of things get branded as conspiracy theorists. Now, we've all done it. We've all talked about it. We've all had somebody in our life say, well, you're just a conspiracy theorist and now I'm going to cut you off. But if you or I question government mandates, we do so because we don't trust the information that the government is giving us. Now, it doesn't really matter for what reason we don't trust it, whether we just don't feel it's right or the person delivering it had a smirk on their face or whatever. The simple fact of the matter is we don't trust it. Now, we try to ask appropriate questions at the appropriate time of the appropriate people or government agencies. We talk to the governments, state and federal. We ask the police. We ask the doctors. We try to gain a clearer understanding of what it is they were telling us and try to allay our fears so that we can regain our trust in them. Our problem is that every time we ask for this sort of clarity, we're called names. Conspiracy theorists, bloody tinfoil hat wearers. We're shut down, ignored, branded, and basically abandoned by friends and family. I think we've all had this sort of experience. The mainstream media, of course, are fairly responsible for this, along with government, federal and state, all of them working very hard to label anyone who doesn't trust the science as a conspiracy theorist. Now, I'm starting to get a bit sick of that. They brand us as a tinfoil hat wearing, moron with the IQ of a grape. That's what they think we are. They have no respect, and they certainly have no recognition that it is trust that it is the issue here. It isn't a conspiracy. We have questions we want answered. And when we get answers to those questions and they don't add up, when the words don't meet the actions of those we supposedly are meant to trust, then what the hell are we meant to do? I think one of the biggest problems with trust that we have at the moment is that distrust is growing. More people don't trust government. More people don't trust the police. More people don't trust mainstream media than ever before. And I'm just about prepared to say that most people don't trust the judiciary either. I mean, it really does come down to who appointed you these days as a judge, as to how the court is going to find your case, which side of politics you fall on. More and more people are being branded as conspiracy theorists simply because they don't trust what they're being told. And they don't trust what they're being told because they're being told conflicting things. They can see evidence being presented from all around the world and indeed from Australian shores, but the government is saying something different. Now, why don't we trust? How do we regain trust? I don't think we can really regain trust, to be honest. I don't think it's really possible. So let's go to the police. Do you trust the police to follow their oath? I mean, Victorians will probably find that a little bit difficult because the Victorian police were the first ones to arm up and start shooting you. They were the first ones to chase you across the street and bash the shit out of you. They were the first ones to run up to you and accost you for not wearing a mask and then level some ridiculous fine at you, which, unless you were too stupid to actually understand you didn't have to pay, and you went off and paid it, you probably realised there was no law enabling them to give you a fine to put a mask over your face. So if you turned up in court and said, under what law are you prosecuting me, Your Honour, they would say, under this Health Act. Well, that's not a law, that's an act. That's something completely bloody different and not worth playing around with. And you could walk from the court without paying a fine. In fact, they would dismiss you. They would dismiss your case. They would withdraw their case against you, as we are finding in our courts today all over the place. Now, some people are still trusting doctors. This, for me, is significant. I don't trust doctors. I wouldn't trust a doctor. No, I don't think I would trust any doctor. I've got doctor/friends, people I know. Wouldn't call them good friends, or known people for a lot of years that are doctors. They do tend to live in their own little rarefied world. But no, I wouldn't trust them, because why would you trust someone who has been given permission and does so, that if you happen to be having a procedure, let's say you're like me, you've got a dicky knee and you need to go in and have a total knee replacement. They knock you out, they do a blood test on you, and they discover that you aren't jabbed at all. Then while you're unconscious, they will give you your first shot. If you've already had one shot and decided not to have the second, they'll give you your second shot. If you've already had the second but decided not to get the third, they'll give you your third shot. And if you're able to receive it because you've had three, they will give you the fourth. Save you the trip, save you lining up. Although I don't think there's too many lines at those jab centres anymore. They'll do all that, and they don't have to tell you. In fact, they won't tell you. They'll let you walk out of the hospital completely unknowing and believing you are still unjabbed. And they've been given permission to do that by that bunch of regulatory assholes that are also suspending the good doctors who are now just finally starting to speak up. I'm sorry, I don't see that with the rousing, bloody great round of applause that everybody seems to be giving them, AMPS and associated others. Yeah, great, they're standing up finally. Where were you two years ago? Where were you 2.5 years ago? How much did you make out of the jabs before you decided you'd do something about it? I just, there's something about that I don't want. I don't like at all. So let's get back to trust, because we don't trust the doctors. We don't trust the police. Let's get on to the judiciary. We certainly don't trust the bloody government. So, okay, do you trust that justice will be served if you get into a court, be that on the good or the bad side of the court? Do you think that justice will be served? I can tell you the only thing that happens in courts is that they extract your money from you using a well-used technique called legalese. It's a whole new language that you didn't know existed. You just thought legalese was a term. No, it's a real language. So how does this all work? Well, it works in the courts. You win, they appeal. They win, you appeal. What happens there? Well, you've got to go to another level of court. You've got to probably drag things out a little bit to get a court date. By that time, any medical stuff that you may have had to submit might be out of date. You might have to go through and get all those medical tests redone again at your own cost. Of course, you'll need your barrister again for both, whether you win, whether you lose, whether you're appealing the appeal or winning the appeal or whatever you're doing. You're going to need that lawyer. That lawyer isn't working for you. He's working for the system. He's extracting as much money out of you as he possibly can that goes into the system and gets returned to the lawyers and the judges tax-free by way of another little rort that they've got going through their legalese. So, yeah, do you trust the judiciary? Do you trust the courts? No, I don't think that there is any way in hell I would trust the courts. They slap you with extra court fees. They slap you with all these little extra little fees. And when we say extra little fees, I mean, it might only be $150 there or $250 there. But if you don't have $150 or you don't have $250, then it's bloody insurmountable. And that's why a lot of people never wind up in court, because they simply can't afford the debt trap they hook you into. Now, just as a sideline, Magna Carta 1215 trial by jury, free. No judges, no lawyers, free. You have to represent yourself, but there is help available, and it's not as scary as it seems. So, yeah, judiciary, no, don't trust the judiciary at all. So, what are we? We are conspiracy theorists? No, we are just people who don't trust what we are being fed. But how do we gain the trust? I don't know. I think the majority of the people have lost trust in government. I think they've lost trust in police. I think they have lost trust in doctors and nurses, which for me is probably one of the saddest things. And of course, we've lost trust in the judiciary. We've lost trust in our friends and family who we thought would back us up rather than call us names. And we've lost faith in any of the administrations that are meant to be there to help us, the people, at a time where we're crying out. Trust can't be regained by force. They can't make us trust them again. In fact, I can't see a way that anybody sitting in a current federal or state parliament in this country can ever be trusted again. Anyone who has formerly sat in one of those places can't be trusted because they've been in on it. They know the secrets. They haven't told you. They haven't told you for a reason, because they've made a lot of money out of it, more than you can imagine. So trust can't be regained by force. Trust is earned, and I seriously doubt that these people are able to earn it back at all. So where does that leave us as a society? A society without trust. We're already divided. They've used the conspiracy term to divide us, but they're just misnaming things, fact-checking it the wrong way. It's not conspiracy, it's trust. We have lost trust in those we trusted to be in charge of the big things in our country. We've lost trust in the police. We've lost trust in the doctors and nurses, and we've lost trust in the judiciary. Now, I can only say that the numbers of people who don't trust all of the above are growing. Now, what happens when that reaches critical mass? What happens when there is more people that don't trust all those governments and agencies than there is that do? Well, that's when we better have something of a solution to offer, I think. And that better not be coming out the end of a gun. Revolution is no solution. And lawful revolution is a misnomer. It doesn't exist. You can't have the two words in the same sentence. So don't get the two confused. We can do something lawfully, or we can rebel. I don't support the second one. Innocent people will die. Children will die. Children are already dying. We're trying to stop that. We don't need any more innocent deaths. So I don't support the rise up and rebel mantra that is being thrown around in some places at the moment. What we need is a way to re-establish trust. Now, I think that's fairly easy to do. Gut all the parliaments. Raise somebody out of your community that you trust. Somebody that works in your community tirelessly for your community and asks nothing in return. Put that person into the parliament on your behalf and trust them to do the right thing. We have to get rid of the bastards, every last one of them. All the parties, all of them. There is no trust. And when the majority of the population loses trust, there cannot be a safe and happy government. There cannot be a safe and happy police. There cannot be, well, I suppose the doctors will all be safe and happy. They'll be locked up in their mansions and in their safe rooms after being paid off with all that jab money, I dare say. But there's a lot more coming, and trust needs to be reestablished. We're not going to get it out of the likes of Anthony Albanese. We're not going to get it out of the likes of Peter Dutton. We're certainly not going to get it out of that fucking green moron, whatever his name is, Adam, whatever his name is. And there are a whole bunch of other independents in there who should be fighting for us, but aren't. So don't trust them either. We have to find people in our own communities. We have to stand them up and support them and put them in Parliament to speak for us, because nobody's there doing it for us at the moment. Just a bunch of psychopaths and pedophiles who are hell-bent on killing us or keeping us in the dark for as long as possible so that they can enrich themselves and the cabal behind them. A lot of interesting things happened in the last week or so. I've personally found it quite interesting that a spider crawled out on the Queen's coffin. Can't tell me they didn't spray those flowers before they put them on there. But, yeah, spider was an interesting choice, I thought. Very interesting things happening there. Wrinkled flags, all sorts of strange weirdness in the lineups of royalty and who was where and what they were wearing. I don't know. We'll see. That's meant to be the catalyst. Things are meant to start coming. We're talking about the 24th of September. So I'll get off trust. We'll get on to the 4th of September. A lot of people have been sending me emails about the 24th of September. What do I think is coming on the 24th of September? I got a few guesses. That's all I've got. I mean, in the people that I'm talking to, we're all talking about the same sorts of things. Initially, my first thought and impression was it will be one of two things. It will be the banks will shut down and you won't be able to get your money out. The financial markets will crash, and that will be the beginning, if you like, of maybe 2, 3, or possibly 4 weeks where we don't get any banking or internet financial services at all as the new system is installed. That could happen on the 24th. Donald Trump might be arrested on the 24th. There is still a great deal of talk in America at the moment from the Biden administration that they are going to arrest him after documents that they found at Mar-a-Lago were deemed to be, top secret or shouldn't have been taken out of the White House. Don't get too concerned about Donald Trump being arrested. I think you'll find that there was a plan in all of that. And in some of those boxes that the FBI took away out of Mar-a-Lago was a whole heap of evidence that maybe they didn't want to have admitted into evidence. And they just swallowed the bait, hook, line, and sinker. And now all of what they took is now able to be brought up in court. So to arrest Donald Trump might actually be the biggest trigger for the US. And it would be the trigger, I would think, to see the Supreme Court of the US come back out of hiding and announce the decision that they made, nearly 2 months ago now, that there was something wrong with that other election. So, Hun, your ANZ was empty of cash the other day. Mine is empty of cash most days, my NAB. But not good if it was emptied of cash and you didn't do it. Prince Charles Doppel wore the pant back to front. Oh, I hadn't noticed that one. I noticed Camilla did seem to have a strange ring around her neck, where the bottom of a mask might have sat. But, I didn't notice the bit about Charles. I'm just having a bit of a glance to see if there's some questions here. Yeah, we have a lot of faith in the Q movement. And it's become a lot more active recently again, too. Look, I've never been able to decipher Q. I've always relied on others to do it. They have much more time or much cleverer, all those sorts of things. So I'm a big supporter, though. I want to believe. And I have no reason so far to doubt it. So I very much believe in the Q solution. So fingers crossed it stays that way and we get some real action. I still stand by the only firm date for things that I give. I should say other things on the 24th. The only firm date I give is November the 8th, which will be November the 9th here in Australia. That is the day for the American midterm elections. If nothing happens by that time, I think we're all stuffed. And I'll be offering a lot of apologies to people. It's just, I can't see how they could move forward into the midterms without sorting out what happened in the 2020. So we'll just have to wait and see how that all plays out. Other things that the 24th could be concerned with. Here's my left of field one, although I don't think it'll happen on September the 24th. I think it's more likely to happen toward the end of the first week of October. And that is the launch of the Artemis rocket out of NASA. It's going to the moon. It's armed up with the best cameras and everything else. No humans, though. You can be guaranteed there's the best CGI technology ever loaded up into that thing. I suspect what we're going to have is the world watching in awe as color pictures in HD are being sent back from this rocket as it orbits the moon. And we will see something unexpected on the moon. That's my tip from the Artemis rocket. Now, whether that's around the 24th or I believe that's actually going to be a little later. I think they've scuttled the launch twice now. And I think I heard that they were putting it back to the end of, or somewhere in October. I think if my time frame is going to work, it's going to be the middle to end of the second week of October, but who knows? Landing a tin can on the moon. Now they're not landing this one; they're just going to fly around and show us pictures of it. So, what would happen if we saw a building or a ship or things moving around on the surface, mining it, something like that? All these things highly possible. So, wouldn't it be interesting to see how the world reacts? Will that be the fake alien invasion? They've been sitting on the moon forever. They're not really invading Earth, but that'd be enough to worry people, wouldn't it? A few pictures like that coming down. They've also got hologram technology that they could wheel out and start using. So, that could be pretty interesting as well. Don't go and get too worried about it. I wouldn't be. If the aliens are here, they're already here. They've been among us for a while, and if they wanted to kill us, I think they probably would have done it by now. In fact, some of them are trying, but there are a lot of good ones, we hope, that are trying to help us. So fingers crossed on that. Yeah, Project Bluebeam, Lee, 100%. So I do think the fake alien invasion isn't too far away, and they need to get that out of the way. They need to get the midterm elections thing sorted out. I have a prediction for that. Well, what the hell? I may as well say it because I've been saying it privately, so I'll say it publicly. If this is going to go down, the way it's going to go down, I believe, will be military. Military will come out. They will explain what's gone on, how the 2020 election was run, and how they tracked every vote and know the truth of every vote. They will release the true vote count, the true audited vote count from every state. And that will also entail a certain electoral college vote reshuffle. And I think you'll find that the 45th president might be reinstated for 2 years from that date in November and be allowed to run again in 2024. So I know that you'll jump up and down and say American presidents can only run 2 terms. That's not strictly true. During wartime, one of the presidents there ran for about 13 years, was in control for about 13 years. So it is possible, and this is wartime. So bear that in mind. I think there is a chance that Trump will come back that way. Military satellite. Well, better than a military satellite. If you want to talk about how they flip the votes, let's talk about how they flip the votes. The satellite chain you're referring to is Leonardo SP. That's owned by the Vatican. The company that owns Leonardo SP is major shareholder was the Vatican. In the Vatican at the time of the election, there were a number of CIA operatives who'd been flown over from America, and they were tracking the vote in real time. They could see that the algorithm was going to be overrun again with Trump for support for the sitting or the incumbent. And I'm trying to say things without getting myself banned here. What they did was insert votes back through the Leonardo SP satellite, which were downloaded to a server farm in Frankfurt, which were modified again, extra things thrown in, and then sent from there to a server farm in Spain, from memory, where it was uploaded to a Mossad satellite and reinserted into the national vote count. That's how they did it. Well, that's how they did the online portion of it. Remember those domain voting machines that weren't connected to the internet? Well, in a lot of cases, they were telling the truth. 19 out of 20 machines weren't connected to the internet, but one had to be. And of course, the 19 that weren't had to be connected to the one that was, so that they could get their information to it, so that it could upload them. So, yes, they all were connected to the internet. They were all able to be overridden at various different times. And, well, by the looks of it, they certainly all were. Then, of course, we've seen the fiasco of the Chinese votes coming out of the suitcases, being pulled out of tables after voting was closed at 10:30 at night. That for me is the beautiful bit. The big sting is the tracking on every vote. Every ballot paper had a non-radioactive isotope placed on it. That meant that could be tracked anywhere on the globe. It went anywhere. So they know exactly how many went to what letterboxes. They know if people picked them up individually, took them into their house, filled them in, and then sent them off. Or they know if they were stolen out of the letterboxes by the hundreds, filled in one place, and then dumped in a big group into a box as well. They know it all. So we're looking forward to actually seeing that. US troops preparing for war with China? I don't think so. It may look a bit like that, but that's not going to happen. I actually think that Xi Jinping is a white hat, so there won't be too much of that going on. And I know the Dragon families at this stage pretty much are in control of China. So a lot of what we're seeing there at the moment is, well, not all of it. Some of it is propaganda. Some of it is actually happening. There are still cities that are locked down and being patrolled by drones. People are being told via drone not to go outside and all that sort of stuff. That is sort of happening. However, that's just the last remnants of the CCP squirming, wriggling. There's a bit more to come with China yet, but I think that will all happen once the financial crash comes, because China will feel that pretty badly too. Because they've got a fair bit of debt of their own. They also hold a huge amount of the world's debt. So worthwhile. Archiacs. Yes, I have watched Archiacs. What do I think is happening where? Hang on a second here. Alex Jones exposed voter fraud before. Yeah, Alex Jones is doing a bit of exposing himself at the moment. Wouldn't worry too much about his court cases. They're just show trials. He's not even allowed to present a defence, I don't think. But some would say his defence would be coming from Israel anyway. Make out of that what you will. There's been a lot of talk about him being a Mossad agent, so a plant for them for some time. Considering Putin has just given China the blessing for his work in the Ukraine, yeah. Okay, so, yeah, Andrew, I'm not sure which way you're going with that. If you're still thinking that Putin was trying to invade Ukraine, you're definitely on the wrong page, mate. That definitely didn't happen. CCP could be heading to the Democratic Party. Yep, big chance of that. You felt sorry for my beer at the Singo. Do you mean the untouched one that sat there and got bloody warm all night? Yeah, tell me about it. Well, at least you know I'm not a big drinker. I think in Singleton I had maybe 4 beers the whole week. But yeah, let that one. I felt a bit bad having a sip of the beer while Ricardo was sitting beside me, truth be told. So I didn't think I'd get into that, and didn't. But I did have a cold one afterwards. Let's just have a big glance here. What's happening on the 24th? You'll have to go back and watch that. I've had a bit of a chat about that already. Yeah, Alex Jones was told there was a sting happening. Yeah. He may well have been told, mate. I just I don't trust getting news from Alex Jones. I sort of find other places to get it from, and I found an untouchable place to get the workings of the election, what they did during that election. I found an untouchable place to provide the proof of what they did there. So you can believe me when I say that's what happened, because that's really what happened. Thank you so much for your thanks. That's great of you. War by the 30th of October. Now, that'll be the fake war. That'll be what they're edging up to. It's not going to happen. Don't get excited. There might be the odd angry shot, but You have to understand Biden isn't in control. Biden is not in charge. Did you see him the other day when he gave the warning to Putin? Don't. God. I mean, did the programming fail that day? Did the battery go flat? Something was wrong. He didn't really look at all like himself. And, God. It's like being scolded by a senile old man. I bet Putin was shaking in his moccasins like hell. Yeah, no, don't worry about any war with Russia. That isn't going to happen. Don't worry about anything that the Ukraine are saying at the moment. They're taking ground back and they're marching through. All they're doing is walking into a pincer movement. They're walking into a trap, and they're too stupid to see it. And the media aren't going to tell you. Maybe they're not too stupid. Maybe it's for the media that they're doing this. I don't know. But I've given up anything really on bothering with the Ukraine. It's just it's finished. It's over. They've cleaned it out. It's now just the little ones who are vying to fill that power vacuum that was created when the heads of the order have been taken out. So that's mopping up, essentially, is what they're doing now. CCP, yeah, Rob, I did that one. Deep state's controlling the government. Yep, they sure are. Well, I don't know that they're controlling our government. They have been. I'm not even sure that our government is really our government. I'd like to know how many of them are wearing ankle bracelets or being plugged in every night to recharge them, because, did you see Albo at the funeral, at the Queen's funeral? Didn't look like him at all. Mind you, he hasn't looked like himself since well before the election, now that we think about it, but that's a whole other story. Yes, Putin is cutting the head off the snake, fighting the old Nazi regime. 100% right. Couldn't agree more with you on that one. And what else have we got going here? Sorry, this screen, I've really got to try and figure out what to do with this new laptop, because I've literally plugged it in and downloaded a couple of programs that I needed and started it up, and I am just blown away by how useless the screen is at the moment. So I need to go and do some rationalization on that, because I can't see everything and it's taking me too long to scroll through and find bits and pieces. So I'll go. I hadn't planned on talking for this long anyway. So nice of you to drop in and have a bit of a chat with me today. Please, if you are on the Sunshine Coast, love to see you Wednesday night at the Waterfront Hotel in Diddly Bar, as I like to call it, and come along, have a meal with us, and the show from 7:30. Going to be a great show. Going to have Spiros on. We're going to talk the trust. We're going to find out who wants to be involved. If you want to be involved, send me an email, carl@vofhq.com, and we will line you up to be involved. But as I say, administrators and treasurers, if you are an administrator or a treasurer and you have big experience in administrating or treasuring, they're the kind of people that need to be in charge of this trust. So don't just ring up and say, yeah, I want to be it, if you have no experience in this area, because you can't be considered for it. It's too big, too serious, too important. So we'd probably be looking at accountants and auditor type level number crunches for the treasury positions. And I don't know much about administrators, but I always defer to the best administrator in any office. That kind of person, somebody who can, got 10 arms and 50 fingers on each hand, who can manage many things at the same time. That's the kind of person we need to look at there. It is going to be a big job. You can talk to the Victorian, South Australian and ACT administrators and treasurers now. They're finding just how big it is. So notice the colour of the Queen's hearse in the sunlight, crimson reddish. I hadn't noticed that. Was there sunlight? I didn't bother watching too much of it, truth be told. I did notice that Will Purves was on the side of the hearse at one stage there where they were moving her a couple of weeks ago. It was hastily removed. Rather interesting thing to have on the side of it, Will Purves. Okay, AJ, yeah, AJ, yes, I've seen a bit of AJ's stuff. And yes, a lot of what he said has come true. A lot of, look, and nobody ever, well, except for those who reject everything we say, and nobody ever talks about the things we do get right, or he gets right, or the others get right. They always talk about the dates we don't get right, and that's why we don't like giving dates. September 24th to me is just a date everybody seems to be talking about. If something's going to happen, then I've outlined to you what I think those things could be, but there's no guarantee. It could be any of 100 other things. Could be nothing at all. If it's nothing at all, I'm probably going to be as disappointed as I was when there was nothing at all on any other date we mentioned. But I firmly believe November the 8th is the hard end point for this. It has to end by November the 8th. So anything between now and then is pure speculation. But, yep, we've got rockets going to the moon. No, we haven't got into the flat earth thing yet, and I'm not going to yet. We've got all sorts of politicians making all sorts of interesting new laws. Dan Andrews has gone off in Victoria. Soon you won't be able to walk off a path in a park in Victoria, a national park or a state park. Otherwise, you'll get fined for getting off the beaten path. God, talk about a bloody nanny state. Anyway, that's the story to date, folks. Thank you very much for coming on and having a bit of a chat with me today. I am sorry that I wasn't around yesterday. Not that I think you hang on every word I say, and why would you? But yeah, smashed the laptop and an unexpected cost incurred, unfortunately. You can go and check out our website, vofhq.com, and I've got to go and get on the phone and talk to the man who manages all that right now, because we've got to start putting a few interesting new things up. There'll be a new blog page, so I'll be able to write a few bits and pieces, and we're going to put up a new Magna Carta common law group, which we will grow out of our group in Singleton. We've had a lot of requests to start our own common law group, and Fitz has got one on Telegram, but we will start one on the Voice of Freedom HQ page as well. And if you don't have Telegram and you still want to be part of common law groups, then by all means come along and join us there. The lovely Cherie will be administrating that for us, and it should be a bit of fun. So I'm going to spend my afternoon getting that all set up and a few other bits and pieces on the website. If you feel the urge to contribute in any way, shape or form, there is a donate button on the website. But it's not compulsory. You don't feel you have to. And if you don't, you don't. It's all good. Same for our shows. Our shows are free. You can turn up, have a beer, watch the show and go home for nothing. Very easy. To me, it's more important that we get the information out there. It's not about making money, but there are certain realities in life, and fuel and food and a bed occasionally is some of those things. So really appreciate your time and any donation that you do make. Oh, T-shirts, Magna Carta 1215 T-shirts. Yes, the designs. Had a great chat with Arnie Glenda while I was in Sydney. We actually met, and we went through the design brief with her, and she's very excited about it. I haven't spoken to her again. I wanted to give her a couple of weeks to talk to her people about it and figure out which direction we might go. I have had a couple of entries sent in, if you like, and they're very, very, very good. We are looking for something a little bit different, though, and what I'll do with Fitz is wind up having a chat about that in the Magna Carta show that we're doing a little later on today, so we can explain what we're really hoping to get with our new look night, if you like. Might not even be called a night yet by the end of it. All strange things happening. Anyway, folks, enjoy what's left of your day today. I don't know whereabouts you are, but here there is not a cloud in the sky, so not a chemtrail to be seen, at least in the little part of the sky that I can see just up there. I hope it's the same where you are, and wherever you are, be safe on the roads. Don't be a dickhead. You know, there's too many of them out there for you to go and want to join the pack.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's ride!